Inktober has arrived, and I'm going to tell you today how I'm going to cope with Inktober. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of wacky prompts, a lot of people posting a lot of stuff, and that can both be inspiring and demotivating, ironically. So how on earth can we actually cope when there's all of this stuff flying around in our social media spheres? How can we keep ourselves enjoying it and also get the most out of it? The first thing is to recognise these prompts are quite hard. There's some really wacky ones out there. There's simple ones which don't require, for me, as someone who sketches architecture mostly and landscapes, they don't need me to think too far outside the box. I noticed somewhere in the middle of the month we have castle. Brilliant. So sketching a castle can do that. We have things like map. Now I need to go outside of my little box of thinking to make that one possible. And perhaps I can do a little simple map of my town, St Neots, and within that very simple map I can just do 4 or 5 urban sketches. And those urban sketches can be very small, very quick, very easy, and I have made a map of my area. So we can do some inside the box thinking, we can stretch out a little bit, and then there are some mad ones. So today is dream. So what on earth can we do with that? And just, recognise that your style, you may be someone who's brilliant at everything, but your style, if you're like me, may be something which is far easier for you to accomplish certain subjects. So for dream, what am I going to do? Well, my thought process is, I could go totally abstract. I could just play on my page with dropping ink in water and creating that kind of dreamscape. I could take the word dream and literally start attaching other words to it. Maybe a dream catcher comes to mind and you can now do a lovely little sketch of a dream catcher. Maybe in that little journey you find other words which attach to it which form your favourite book or a film, or it doesn't even have to be your favourite book or film. It could just be something you remember from the past, and then you can take a character from that. It doesn't have to be so obvious and so directly linked to dream. Equally, I think a really good one for me would be to take, somewhere I dream of going and sketch that. And that could be somewhere real, somewhere not real, depending on how creative I'm feeling that day. Most of my sketches not going to take very long, 4 or 5 minutes to fulfill a prompt. And another thing I'm not going to do is probably do every single day. I may try and get every single day's worth of prompt done, and that might be that one day I sit down and I do 5 or 6 prompts all in a row, maybe all on one page. That's really small doodles. That will make me feel good. It'll let me feel like I've finished the whole thing, but it won't put that pressure on to spend 20, 30, 40 minutes doing hard sketches, thinking loads to fulfill, an arbitrary goal. And the last thing that I want to talk about today is that whilst Inktober is the official thing going on, Inktober is only something which was dreamt up a few years ago. So there are loads of other things you could get involved in, as well as just completely ignoring the whole thing altogether and realising, whilst it might be fun, it also might not be, and it doesn't really matter. Some ones that I would recommend which are really fun, so there is Boattober. That's by Doug Jackson Art. He's been on the channel with me before, really good artist, and does a lot of boats, does a lot of other stuff as well, but his boats are exceptional. He's a very skilled artist, and he often uses ink, so perfect if you want to follow along with Doug's Boattober. There is Historytober, which I think is by, sorry if I'm misattributing these, but I think that's by Sketcher Joey, and again you can find them on Instagram. And then there's loads of others. What have I seen? I've seen Architober, so architectural scenes. And these are choosing a series of very specific, very ornate buildings. That will be a hard one to complete in the 31 days. But if you're up for a challenge, there you go. I've seen Witchtober. I've seen loads and loads of others. I'll try and link a few down in the description so that you can find maybe the ones that interest you. And with that is my little plan for how I'm going to cope with Inktober. What I'd love to know is how you're going to cope with Inktober. Do you have any great ideas? If so, hit me up in the comments and spread the knowledge. As part of Inktober, obviously my channel is going to focus loads on ink sketching videos. I released one yesterday, which is my sort of beginner's guide to ink sketching. That has got information about the pens I use, about the techniques I use. It's got a full sketch we can go through. It talks about soluble ink and waterproof ink. I've also released a massive SKILLSHARE class, which is already doing really well in the first couple of days. So if you want to join in that, again, there's a link in the description below. So thank you everyone for watching my little sketching videos. If you enjoy my content, please do subscribe to my channel, because it makes me really, really happy. Thanks again.